When my husband died, everything I knew about love, loyalty, and family changed. Richard Hart wasn't just my husband, he was my partner, my anchor, and the man who built an empire beside me. Together, we turned a small tech startup into a multinational success, and when he passed, he left me everything. $500 million. And a silence so heavy, it nearly crushed me. She stands motionless, clutching a single white rose, her eyes following the coffin as it lowers into the ground. "Rest, my love," she whispers, voice trembling. "I'll protect what we built." But as I looked around, I realized something cold. Some of the faces crying that day weren't mourning him, they were calculating me. I could almost hear the questions behind their pity. How much did she inherit? Do you think she'll keep the company? Who gets what? Grace, softly Mrs. Hart, everyone's waiting at the mansion for the will reading. Evelyn, let them wait. It's all they've been doing anyway. I walked through my own home and felt like a stranger. Grief hadn't even settled in, and already, greed filled the air. My husband's brother, my cousins, even old friends, they were all waiting for numbers. Not memories. Not love. Numbers. Lawyer, to my beloved wife, Evelyn Hart, I leave the entirety of my estate, assets, and shares, totaling approximately $500 million US. Cousin, whispering all of it? That's insane. Brother-in-law, muttering figures. He always trusted her too much. In that moment, I understood, I wasn't surrounded by family anymore. I was surrounded by vultures, waiting for me to fall apart. She signs the final document, her hand trembling. I didn't need their pity. I needed the truth. I needed to know if anyone would love me when the money was gone. So I made a choice that night, one that would change everything. I would hide the fortune. Every penny. I'd live like I had nothing. And find out who really cared for me when the world thought I'd lost it all. The next morning, I walked through the mansion one last time. The silence was unbearable, no laughter, no footsteps, just the echo of wealth that suddenly meant nothing. Money could buy every comfort but not one heartbeat of Richard's warmth. Evelyn stands in the grand study, opening a safe behind a painting. She removes stacks of documents, bonds, and USB drives. I transferred every dollar into a trust under another name, locked the papers away, and left only enough to keep the house standing. The rest vanished from sight, mine, but invisible. She takes off her pearl earrings, switches her tailored black dress for jeans and a plain coat. Evelyn, to herself, let's see who calls when the money's gone. Cut to the front gates, journalists and distant relatives waiting. Reporter, Mrs. Hart. Rumors say the company's collapsing, will you sell? Evelyn, quietly, there's nothing left to sell. She walks away, camera trailing behind her as she disappears down a long road lined with autumn trees. That was the day Evelyn Hart, the billionaire's widow, disappeared. And in her place, I became someone else, Eve Harper, Evelyn renting a small apartment in a modest neighborhood, she pays cash, keeps to herself. The walls are thin, the heater buzzes. For the first time in decades, I woke up without staff, without schedules, without anyone pretending to care because of a last name. It felt strange and freeing. She walks through a local cafe, meeting ordinary people, the barista who greets her with a genuine smile, the neighbor who lends her sugar. I began noticing the little things, the kind gestures that no one gave for profit. The world looked different when no one expected you to be rich. At the same cafe, a man in his 50s, casual but kind-eyed, bumps into her and spills coffee. Man, oh no, I'm so sorry. Are you all right? Evelyn, smiling faintly, it's just coffee. I've survived worse. Man, grinning, let me buy you another one then. I insist. His name was Michael. He worked as a carpenter. No suits, no pretense, no clue who I really was. And for the first time since Richard's death, I laughed. Really laughed. Not the polite, hollow kind, but the kind that comes from somewhere honest. Still, deep inside, I couldn't help wondering. If Michael, or anyone, knew the truth, would they stay? Weeks turned into months. I learned how to live simply again, how to cook for one, how to fix a leaky faucet, how to stretch $50 across a week. It was strange, but humbling. The woman who once signed checks worth millions now clipped coupons. Evelyn at the grocery store counting coins, walking home with paper bags, smiling as her neighbor's kids wave at her. I thought I'd feel empty without the fortune, but what I found instead was peace. People saw me for who I was, not what I owned, or so I hoped. Cut to the cafe. Michael sits across from her, handing her a small paper bag. Michael, you mentioned your stove's been acting up, so I brought this, my old camping burner. Works fine. Evelyn, smiling, you didn't have to. Michael, I wanted to. You remind me of someone who's had to start over. They share a quiet moment. The world outside the window glows in golden evening light. Michael never asked what I did for a living. Never asked where I came from. He just listened. That alone felt rare. But peace never lasts long. One afternoon, Evelyn returns home to find a familiar face waiting, her late husband's brother, Thomas. Thomas, Evelyn, thank God I found you. Everyone's been worried. Evelyn, tense worried? We're curious about what's left. Thomas, you misunderstood. The company's struggling. If you'd release a fraction of the inheritance. Evelyn, there is no inheritance anymore. Thomas, don't lie to me. You've always been selfish with what Richard built. He trusted you, but you never cared about family. She steps closer, her voice calm but cold. Evelyn, you're right about one thing, Thomas. Richard trusted me. And that's why everything he built is safe, from people like you. He glares and leaves, slamming the door. Evelyn exhales deeply, eyes glistening. That visit reminded me exactly why I'd hidden the money. The moment people smell wealth, love becomes a transaction. Later that night, she sits by the window, journal in hand, the city lights flickering outside. But in trying to hide from greed, I had also hidden from trust. How long could I keep pretending to be someone else, before this lie broke the one person who seemed real? Cut to a quiet scene, Michael and Evelyn walking home after dinner, laughter fading into soft silence. He stops, glancing at her curiously. Michael, you know, Eve, sometimes you talk like someone who's lived 100 lives. Evelyn, smiling sadly, maybe I have. Michael, whoever you were before, she must have been someone special. She pauses, eyes soft with gratitude. Evelyn, she was. But she had to disappear to find herself again. They walk off under the streetlights, simple, content, unaware that the lie she's living will soon unravel. I told myself I was testing the world. But maybe, the truth was, I was testing my own heart. The music fades on that line, soft piano transitions to a more uncertain tone. Months passed, and what started as a quiet friendship had grown into something I didn't expect, warmth. Safety. Laughter that didn't echo off marble walls but filled small, cluttered rooms. Michael, you ever think about leaving this town? Starting somewhere fresh? Evelyn, smiling faintly, I already did. Maybe too well. Michael, then maybe it's time to stop running. His words were kind, but they hit harder than he knew. Because while I had run from money and greed, I was also running from honesty. How do you tell someone who loves you for your heart that you've been hiding a fortune all along? Grace, voice trembling Mrs. Hart, it's Grace. I'm sorry, I shouldn't be calling, but reporters are digging. Someone leaked that you moved money into a private trust. They're saying you vanished with the estate. Evelyn, quietly let them say what they want. Grace, ma'am, they're publishing it tomorrow. I'd built this new life on silence. And tomorrow, silence would end. Next day, cafe. Michael scrolls through news on his phone, brows furrowed. Headline on screen, billionaire widow Evelyn Hart missing, suspected of hiding $500 million fortune. He looks up at Eve, confused. Michael, Eve, this woman looks just like you. Evelyn freezes. The cafe noise fades, replaced by the sound of her heartbeat. Evelyn, Michael, I can explain. Michael, Evelyn Hart. Is that who you are? She nods, tears welling. Evelyn, I didn't mean to lie. I just needed to know who would care if I had nothing. Michael, hurt you think love is a test? You think honesty doesn't matter? Evelyn, no. I think honesty is all that matters. That's why I hid everything, to see what was real. Michael, you didn't trust me enough to tell me the truth. Maybe that says everything. He leaves the cafe. Evelyn sits motionless, the world moving in slow blur around her. For years, I'd been surrounded by people who wanted my money. But now, I'd finally found someone who wanted my heart, and I'd lost him because I couldn't stop hiding. Evelyn wandering through the rainy streets alone, passing newspaper stands with her name on the headlines. Her reflection in the glass looks older, sadder, smaller. Sometimes, we build walls to protect ourselves, only to realize we've locked out the ones who meant to stay. She stops at a bridge overlooking the city lights. The rain has stopped. She whispers softly. Evelyn, Richard. I don't know what lesson you wanted me to learn, but I think I've finally found it. She exhales slowly, the wind carrying her voice away. The music shifts, soft piano rising to hopeful. Soft morning light streams into Evelyn's small apartment. Boxes are stacked by the door. She's packing her old notebooks and a few modest clothes. A news anchor's voice plays faintly on the TV. In an unexpected turn, the reclusive widow of the late billionaire Richard Hart has been found living under a different name. Sources close to Evelyn Hart say she plans to speak publicly today for the first time since her husband's death. Cut to Evelyn staring at the screen, calm but tearful. I didn't want the world's forgiveness. I only wanted peace. But maybe peace begins with truth. Scene, press conference hall. Dozens of flashing cameras. Evelyn stands at the podium, wearing a simple beige dress, no jewelry, no diamonds, just honesty. Evelyn, softly into the mic. When my husband died, I inherited not only his wealth, but also his world, one filled with people who saw me as a number, not a person. I ran away, not to deceive, but to remember who I was before the money. I wanted to see kindness again, not to buy it, but to feel it. Camera pans across the room, journalists lower their cameras, silent. Evelyn, voice trembling. I met people who had nothing, but gave everything. I met a man who made me laugh again, not because of what I owned, but because of who I was. And I lost him because I couldn't tell the truth. She takes a deep breath, holding back tears. Evelyn. Today, I'm donating 90% of my husband's fortune to a foundation in his name, for those who have lost, and for those searching for something real. Cameras flash. Some reporters clap. But Evelyn's eyes aren't on them, they're searching the crowd, and then she sees him, Michael, standing at the back of the room, quietly watching. Music swells, emotional orchestral tones. Evelyn steps down from the podium and walks toward him. The room fades into a blur. Evelyn, softly you came. Michael, half smiling, I saw you were telling the truth this time. Evelyn, I was always trying to. Just, in the wrong way. He sighs, looking at her for a long moment, then holds out a small envelope. Michael, I quit my job at the cafe. But if you still need someone to make you coffee, I'm free every morning. Evelyn laughs softly, her eyes shining. Evelyn, only if you promise not to charge extra this time. He smiles. They both laugh quietly, the kind of laughter that feels like healing. The cameras had stopped flashing. The world had stopped watching. But in that quiet corner of the hall, two people who had lost everything found something richer than fortune, forgiveness. Montage: Evelyn and Michael walking together through a park, kids running around, the city skyline glowing golden. She's holding his hand, relaxed for the first time in years. I thought wealth was measured in zeros and estates. But real wealth was in moments like this, raw, honest, unbought. Final shot: Evelyn and Michael watching the sunset by the water. Her voice narrates softly. When you stop testing love, you start trusting it. And that's where happiness begins.